The desert wind tasted of dust and regret, swirling around Jedediah Stone's boots as he surveyed the Thorne Estate. Elias Thorne, shackled and sullen, watched him from a veranda, his grief seemingly genuine, yet Jed couldn't shake the feeling of a carefully constructed facade. Clem stood guard, a young man trying to appear stoic, but Jed saw the tremor in his hands. The scent of wildflowers, a jarring contrast to the tension hanging in the air, did little to ease the oppressive atmosphere. "He was a good man, Marshal," Elias repeated, his voice cracking. "Silas was complicated, but he didn't deserve this." Jed grunted, unconvinced. "You paid a man to send a message, Mr. Thorne. That's not the action of a grieving brother." "It was a warning. I swear it. Silas, he was involved in things he shouldn't have been. I feared for his safety." Elias's eyes glistened, whether from tears or desperation. Jed couldn't say. "What things?" Jed pressed, his voice low and even. Elias hesitated, then mumbled. "Business dealings. Out of New Orleans. Shipping company. Exotic goods." Jed's mind raced. Silas Blackwood, a man known for his cattle ranch and rough-and-tumble reputation, involved in import/export from New Orleans. It didn't fit. Exotic goods. Care to elaborate? "I don't know the specifics, Marshal. Silas wouldn't tell me. Just said it was important, lucrative." Elias wrung his hands, a pathetic display of innocence. "I just wanted to scare him. Make him be careful." Jed turned to Clem. "Check the shipping manifests. New Orleans. Blackwood's name. Anything unusual?" Clem nodded and hurried off. Jed returned his attention to Elias. The man's carefully cultivated despair felt like a theatrical performance. He was hiding something, Jed knew it. He picked up the small, intricately carved wooden bird that lay on the veranda table near where the ruby had been discovered. It was remarkably detailed, the wings outstretched as if in flight. A calling card, a taunt. "Recognize this?" Jed held up the bird. Elias's eyes flickered, a brief, almost imperceptible shift in his expression. "No," he said quickly, too quickly. Jed made a note of it. "Someone left this near the ruby, Mr. Thorne. Seems deliberate." The ruby, a flawless crimson gem, nestled amongst the wildflowers where Silas had fallen. Valuable. Unusual. Another piece of the puzzle that didn't quite fit. Redemption was on edge. The rumors were spreading like wildfire, fueled by fear and superstition. A curse, some whispered, reckoning for Silas's sins. Jed had heard the locked doors, the shuttered windows. The town had retreated into itself, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Clem returned, his face grim. "The manifests are messy, Marshal. Lots of false names, shell companies. But I found something. A shipment arriving next week. Botanicals listed on the manifest. Destination Thorne Estate." "Botanicals?" Jed raised an eyebrow. "What kind of botanicals require a ruby and a hired gun?" The New Orleans connection deepened the mystery. Silas, a cattle baron, importing exotic goods under a cloak of secrecy. The wooden bird, the ruby, the assassin, they were all tangled together in a web of deceit. Jed studied Elias Thorne again. The man was a pawn, a desperate player in a game he didn't fully understand. He was being manipulated, used as a distraction. But who was pulling the strings? And what were they importing that was worth a man's life and a ruby the size of a quail's egg? "Mr. Thorne," Jed said, his voice hard, "you're not telling me everything." Elias looked away, unable to meet his gaze. I don't know what you mean." Jed didn't believe him. He knew there was more to the story, a deeper darkness lurking beneath the surface of the Thorne Estate and the seemingly peaceful town of redemption. He just needed to find a thread that would unravel it all. He released Elias from his temporary confinement. "You'll remain under house arrest, Mr. Thorne, and I suggest you start talking, or things will get considerably worse for you." As he watched the Thorne family's carriage disappear down the dusty road, Jed felt a familiar sense of unease settle upon him. This wasn't a simple case of revenge or greed. There was something larger at play, something that reached beyond redemption and touched upon shadows he hadn't encountered before. He turned his gaze toward the approaching sunset, the fiery colors reflecting in his weathered eyes. Redemption was quiet now, but Jed knew the silence wouldn't last. The darkness was gathering, and he had a feeling the next storm was coming, and it would be far more dangerous than anything he's ever faced. A lone rider appeared on the horizon, silhouetted against the fading light. He wore a wide-brimmed hat that obscured his face, and he rode a black horse, its hooves silent on the desert floor. Jed squinted, trying to make out the rider's features. As the rider drew closer, Jed noticed something glinting in his hand, a small, intricately carved wooden bird, identical to the one found near Silas Blackwood's body. The rider stopped a short distance away, the silence between them thick with unspoken menace. He slowly raised his hand, revealing the wooden bird, before turning his horse and disappearing into the twilight. Jed remained motionless, a knot of dread tightening in his gut. The case was far from over. It had only just begun.